Live streaming to you from SAG-AFTRA offices in Los Angeles, New York, and Miami. Thank you for joining us for Just Say Sí, the Latino media explosion, opportunities in any language. Tonight's event is an extraordinary collaboration between the SAG-AFTRA Spanish Language Media Committee and MOVE committees in New York and Los Angeles. MOVE is member organizing volunteer efforts, and they have joined together for this coast-to-coast opportunity. These joint educational experiences are a special way to virtually bring members together from across the country. Tonight, we're proud to host the first SAG-AFTRA Tri-City live stream since our historic merger. For those in the room in our host cities of Los Angeles, New York, and Miami, we want to remind you that this is a live-streamed event. Please be aware that you may be recorded, and if you've not already done so, everyone, please make sure your cell phones are off or switched to silent. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, and please direct your attention to the screen for a special video greeting.
Hi, my name is Cicely Saldana. Welcome and thank you for joining us at the Just Say Sí, the Latina Media Explosion of Opportunities in Any Language.
Hello, I'm Adrian Martinez. I'm sorry I can't be with you, but I'm here in spirit.
Even though there's like a handful of household Latino actors out there, we're still hugely underrepresented in the industry.
There isn't any way that we can tell stories without having Latin talent.
If we constantly see ourselves being portrayed as, like I said, you know, the nanny, the maid, the drug lord, you know, we kind of like grow up thinking that these are only our options out there, and it's not true.
We have to think about a way of creating our own projects, our own stuff, and probably write it.
We could literally just step out of the box, or what we grew up knowing and seeing what the box is. We could just step out of it and then just start creating and manipulating and just opening doors.
We know the stories that are out there about us, about many other, you know, nationalities or many other people. And if we're waiting for somebody else to write them, then time will run. Time will pass by in front of our eyes without doing anything about it.
We all have the same goals, which is, of course, entertain, but it's to also open more doors and say and tell amazing stories.
Believe me, studios are always in search of great material, unique stories, fantastic, powerful characters, historias memorables.
This is your career, this is your business, and the more you know about your business, the better grip you'll have, you know, when it comes to your own projects and knowledge. You know, you don't want to walk into a room and having other people dictate and mandate you just because they're using a certain type of language that you don't quite understand yet. You know, just throw yourself out there. Try to learn every little department, every stage of you know, about your project. I think it's just very important to know what stage you are in, how to negotiate your own contracts, how to deliver a project, how to open doors, how to close doors. You know, I think it's just very important to be a well-rounded person in this industry.
Welcome back, everyone. We are live streaming to hundreds of SAG-AFTRA members and other guests across the country, and to several hundred more in the room in Los Angeles, Miami, and New York. Let's all settle in for an exciting evening of information and engaging conversation. We have a special guest you'll see a little later. SAG-AFTRA leadership, President Ken Howard, is here today, and Chief Economist, hey Ken. Chief Economist David Viviano. Let's see you give a rousing round of applause for our Chief Economist, David Viviano. David's going to come to you with an informative presentation on the economics of the Spanish language media market. A bit later in the show, you'll be talking with leading performers in Spanish and English language media. Now, please say hello to the committee members that made tonight possible, starting here in Los Angeles with National Chair of the SAG-AFTRA Spanish Language Media Committee, Hernan de Becky. Hernan?
Bienvenidos. Let me start over, because I don't think they heard that. Buenas tardes y bienvenidos todos a nuestro gran evento de SAG-AFTRA, Just Say Sí. Can I hear? Thank you. On behalf of our Spanish language media committee, I'd like to thank the dynamic members of Move LA and Move New York for collaborating with us to bring you this great program today. Special thanks goes to our wonderful staff, without whose help and assistance this event would have never been possible. Let me hear it for them. Thank you. Muchas gracias.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Also in Los Angeles, Mike Genovese, Move LA Event Chair. Mike?
Hello, everyone. I am glad to be here this evening, or today, or tomorrow morning, whenever you watch this thing. And I'm very proud of what we've accomplished in assembling this event. It's great to see everyone here and across the country, in person and online. I'm looking forward to a great program. Thank you.
Say hi to National Board Member and Move LA Committee Chair Ellen Crawford.
Thank you. Well, tonight has been a true compilation of talent and hard work from Los Angeles, New York, and Miami members and staff. So thank you to everyone who's had a hand in this production. Latino media is exploding, and there are, yes. Woo! Oh, sorry about those, their earphones on. As our title suggests, there are opportunities in any language. We'll make that many languages. I can't wait to see the presentation and hear the conversations to follow.
And now let's, thank you, Ellen. Let's go to New York. New York, are you with us?
Yes, we're here.
We're here.
Hello, all. Welcome to the New York boardroom of our wonderful new office across from Lincoln Center, where we have National Board Member and Move New York Chair, Rebecca Damon.
Hello, everybody. I can't tell you how thrilled we are to have you here with us this evening. I want to give some big thank yous to my fellow committee chairs, Mike and Ellen, for all their hard work, the leadership of the Spanish Language Media Committee, Hernan, who you all just met, Manny Alfaro and Memo Sauceda in helping us to organize this event. A big special shout out to Los Angeles President Clyde Casatsu, New York President Mike Hodge, and Miami President Steve Gladstone, whose help has brought this event together. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Back to Los Angeles.
Okay, and now to the big meat of the evening, the good part. Your host, not that the committee chairs were not good, you guys were great. Your hosts and moderators for this evening, Yareli Arizmendi and Lalo Alcaraz. Let me tell you a little bit about Yareli and Lalo. Award-winning actor, writer, and producer, best known for her tour de force performances in Like Water for Chocolate and A Day Without a Mexican. Yareli co-wrote and co-produced that. She starred in numerous American television series, including 24, 6 Feet Under, and House, and is currently working on a novel titled The Story of Why. Please welcome Yareli Arizmendi.
A pleasure being at this juncture.
Lalo Alcaraz is a Mexican-American cartoonist and multimedia humorist, best known for his daily syndicated comic strip La Cucaracha. Comics by Alcaraz have appeared in English and Spanish language publications, including the New York Times, the Village Voice, and the Los Angeles Times. Currently, he's a writer for the new Seth MacFarlane animated series, Border Town. I want to see that. And which is scheduled to debut on Fox later this year. Welcome, Lalo.
Yay. Well, hello, hola, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us this evening. We're going to have some fun, some provocative talk. SAG-AFTRA members, I know I speak for Lalo as well when I say how amazing and inspirational it has been to see the growth of Hispanic, Latino entertainment and media market over the last several years. This is going to be a really fun program. It's chock full of information and with a lot to cover. We're going to be left with needing more time, but let's get started.
Your ears are going to bleed with so much information you get.
We promise.
Yes, that is a promise. We're going to begin with remarks from SAG-AFTRA President Ken Howard in Los Angeles, followed by a State of the Industry presentation and market research report from David Viviano, SAG-AFTRA Chief Economist in New York. You'll want to stay tuned for that. It's going to be an important tool for anyone interested in marketing your own productions.
After the presentation, we will begin our Tri-City panel discussion with talent covering all member categories and SAG-AFTRA contracts. And that will be followed by a question and answer session. And everyone is invited to submit questions. Our live audiences in LA, New York, and Miami can fill out question cards. You received a check-in, and we will have staff pick them up later in the program. And a special hello to SAG-AFTRA members watching at the viewing events in Atlanta, Austin, Chicago, Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, and Washington Mid-Atlantic. Thank you, thank you. We're all together. One union, yes. And of course, we have our audience online across the country. Welcome. Everyone is invited to send us questions via email at livestream@sagaftra.org or via Twitter @SAGAFTRA, #JustSayC. Now it is my honor to introduce our first speaker, an actor of actor, an actor's actor, an actor of actors of actors. No, he is an actor's actor. And not only that, he is the SAG-AFTRA president, Ken Howard. He has earned a formidable list of credits and several awards, including 2 Emmys and a Tony, a teacher, an author, and an activist. He is active in multiple charitable organizations and represents SAG-AFTRA through his participation as vice president on the AFL-CIO Executive Council and is a member of the board of directors of the Screen Actors Guild Foundation and a trustee of the Actors Fund. Ladies and gentlemen, Ken Howard.
Well, I'm on my mark. Actor's actor that I am. I feel funny. Thank you, Yareli and Lalo, standing in front of you like this. Anyway, we're going to have a great night. A couple of things before I go back and forth off this teleprompter. There's a lot of information I want to share with you. But Oscar Torre is here. And I have to tell you this one story. We both worked in Kane together. And the scene we did, we hadn't met yet, but I saw him that day, and we just kind of came over and sat in chairs, and we worked the same way. We just ran the lines and kind of looked at each other and didn't talk about it or anything. Just ran the lines, okay, whatever. Now we go, and we get on the set. You remember this, right? And the director-producer came up, very nice guy. And he said, all right, we're going to do this scene now. And he explained, your character is this, and your character that, and the subtext, and he went on for a while. And we said, oh, yeah, thank you. He said, you want to rehearse it? I went, no, this is very helpful. Let's go, right? Okay, so they rolled and we did it. We did exactly what we've been doing, for the half hour. Brent, that was great. You got every single possible. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. It was great. That was really fun, wasn't it? All right. 2 actors. Now, look, we all know why we're here. The rapidly changing landscape of 21st century entertainment offers tremendous opportunities for all performers, and we're here to tell you about the growth in this media sector and the terrific product being made right now. Now, I have to warn you in advance that David White, our marvelous national executive director, usually covers all the really technical stuff. But he, being a good American citizen, is in jury duty today and couldn't get out of it. So you'll forgive me being a little long-winded, but I'm wearing 2 hats. So having said that, multiculturalism, technology, and globalization may impact the work, but talent and professionalism will define it. As always, it's about the art and artistry of the performances and how actors, broadcasters, recording artists, and all performers are taking advantage of these new opportunities. We're celebrating the explosion in the Latino market because it has created work in Spanish and in English across all platforms and in all markets. Every day, new talent enters the field. Now, the business I grew up in, business many of us grew up in, is changing. And that change is ushering in a new day in film, television, radio, and new media. No matter your art, there is something here for everyone. Today, Hispanics make up slightly more than 17% of the US population. The average age of a Latino in the US is 28, versus the average age of the general population, which is 38. By the year 2060, I'll be dead. No. This rapidly, no, believe me, this rapidly growing and young demographic is expected to compose over 30% of America's overall population, and advertisers and entertainment conglomerates alike are taking note. In 2013, there was a proliferation of content and distribution entities created and geared toward the growing Latino market. Instructions Not Included, an independent feature film, became the highest grossing Spanish language film ever in the US and the highest grossing indie film for 2013, debuting at a stunning $10 million. The FX network debuted the series The Bridge, with a multicultural cast operating on both sides of the Texas-Chihuahua border, drawing more than 3 million viewers for its premiere telecast. And Hulu premiered an English-language multi-platform series, its first with an all-Latino cast, Ylse Los High, which has earned a second season. The data is quite amazing. According to a recent Nielsen report, Hispanics are the most avid moviegoers in America today, representing 17% of all moviegoers and account for 19% of box office revenue. And technologies are advancing. Apps like MyLingo are making film content available in movie theaters in Spanish at the click of a button. What these numbers all come down to is a rapidly expanding market and more opportunities for all members, and that's a great thing. Well, thank you all for joining us tonight, and I'll give it back to the very competent Yareli.
Now we're going to send things across the country to New York, where David Viviano, I'm so sorry, I'm going to say it again. We are going to send things across the country to New York, where David Viviano, chief economist and head of SAG-AFTRA's Office of Media and Labor Economics, is standing by to take us through an overview of U.S. Latino media. David?
Thank you, Yareli. I'm going to be speaking with you about Latino media and the vast changes we're seeing in this market. We're going to look at audience demographics, as well as the various media platforms covered by SAG-AFTRA: broadcasting, sound recordings, motion picture entertainment, commercials, and new media. Let's start by taking a look at audience demographics. From the year population in the U.S. rose from 35.2 million to 51.9 million, an increase of 48% in just 11 years. The U.S. Census Bureau projects a steady increase in Hispanic audience demographics through next year, increasing all the way through to the year 2060. When you compare this growth to the rest of the U.S. population, you can see that the vast majority of total U.S. population growth over the next 50 years or so will come from Hispanics. Another important demographic factor to look at is age. For those of you who are familiar with how advertising is bought and sold, you know that advertisers are willing to pay a premium to reach younger consumers. When we look at the age distribution for the current Hispanic population, especially when compared to non-Hispanic whites, we see that the Hispanic demographic is very heavily weighted towards the younger end of the spectrum. This makes Hispanics a very enticing target for advertisers, as well as for the networks that air the advertising. Another interesting demographic factor to look at is language preference. Traditionally, the U.S. Hispanic population has generally favored using Spanish language and has consumed Spanish language media. While the Spanish language currently plays a very important role in the U.S. Hispanic population in media consumption, the population is increasingly becoming bilingual and embracing media that is partially or entirely in English. While most U.S. Hispanic adults still prefer to use entirely or mostly Spanish, 40% are mostly or entirely using English, according to research from Nielsen. Now let's take a look at a variety of media platforms. We'll start with local broadcast work. Currently, 8% of the local TV station ad revenue generated in the U.S. is from Spanish language stations, many of which are covered by SAG-AFTRA contracts. While TV stations are responsible for the majority of Spanish language broadcast revenue, we see that Spanish language radio stations also generate very significant revenue. Many of these stations are also covered by SAG-AFTRA agreements. Here we see a revenue forecast going out to 2017, and what we see is a forecast for healthy growth. Sound recordings is another work area where the Latino audience is making a big impact. Latin music is responsible for a large portion of overall music sales. Many major labels produce work under SAG-AFTRA contracts specifically for the Latino market. Now let's look at network television. Here are 16 U.S. networks that specifically target Latino audiences. Many of the major Spanish language networks have been around and successful for years. Univision, Telemundo. Because of the growth and the potential of this market, new Spanish language networks are continuously starting up, such as the recent addition of Mundo Fox. And furthermore, the increasingly bilingual nature of the audience is driving the growth of English language and bilingual networks specifically targeted towards Latinos. Networks such as Fusion, Ylse, and more. Now let's look at the ratings performance for some of these networks. Ratings for Spanish language networks have been on the rise, with Univision dominating primetime ratings. Univision recently surpassed the average primetime audiences of the big four English language broadcast networks, though this is partially due to the overall ratings declines experienced by these English language networks. So what kinds of content are these networks airing? According to data from Kantar Media, the largest Spanish language network television program genre by ad revenue is the telenovela, earning the greatest share of ad revenue at 44%. News, talk, and sports are other lucrative genres for these networks. This leads us to the question of where the entertainment content is being made. Several of the major Latino networks produce content here in the US, such as Telemundo, Estrella TV, and Fusion. Their work is generally produced in the Miami and Los Angeles areas. However, a substantial portion of content on US Latino networks is sourced from abroad. For some networks, such as Univision, Unimas, Azteca America, and Mundo Fox, the primary source of their content is from outside the US. The growth of the Hispanic population is also driving a growth in voiceover work. While most Spanish dubbing for English language feature films is done outside the US, there is considerable work being done in the US for the dubbing of English language television into Spanish for the domestic Spanish-speaking population. Next, let's talk about Spanish language commercials, which is responsible for tens of millions of dollars a year in performer earnings under SAG-AFTRA contracts. As Hispanics account for a greater share of the US population, advertisers are increasingly eager to engage them as consumers. Here we get a sense of how much money some of the top advertisers are willing to spend to reach Spanish language audiences. Across TV and radio, major advertisers are individually investing between $100 and $200 million a year just to reach Spanish-speaking consumers in the US. I should add that these major advertisers largely produce their Spanish language commercials under SAG-AFTRA contracts. A growing and important segment of the media universe is entertainment content made for new media. Producers find that the internet is an increasingly valuable way to reach Latino viewers. Here we see some successful examples of SAG-AFTRA covered projects made specifically for the internet. So what are the important takeaways from this information? An important trend to take note of is the continued growth of the Latino audience, particularly at the valuable younger demographic range. Something else that's important to note is the value of reaching the Latino audience in multiple languages. While in the past, Latino media was dominated by Spanish language work, increasingly Latino media is bilingual or in English. And lastly, it's important to note that the work that airs in the US is produced both foreign and domestically. While a significant amount of content is sourced from abroad, a growing amount of work is being produced here in the US, both in Spanish and in English, and that means more opportunities for our members. I know our panelists are eager to discuss many of these topics, so I'm going to send it back to Yareli and Lalo in Los Angeles.
Oh, David.
Thank you, David, for that thorough and very interesting look at the Spanish language landscape in media entertainment. And you know, if I wasn't already in entertainment, I would get into making quinceañera dresses or something, because that seems to be a growth market. So it was great to see all that information, though, that confirms everything we know.
That you are going to go be a tailor now. Okay.
Or I'm gonna rent limos
That's a
out.
confirmation. It's a confirmation. Now let's get ready for the landmark Tri-City discussion on the Latino media explosion. Because we have incredible panelists, and I invite them here in LA to take your seats. In New York, Miami, I believe that you are already there. If we could have Ruth, Oscar, and Louie join us up here, please. Stop with the autographs. That, you know, you'll have time later on. Just, oh gosh.
I don't think that's an autograph.
Actors, I swear. It's like, did you see? They care more about that autograph as about Mike. And it was Mike, the chair of this Okay, all right. All right. As a reminder, we will be opening up our forum for questions in a bit. So for those at home or watching at a local viewing event, please do send your questions via email at livestream at livestream@sagaftra.org or via Twitter at SAG-AFTRA #JustSayC.
Joining us from Miami are actor Adriana Barraza and former Miami local president, vice chair of the Spanish Language Media Committee, and Miami local board member Memo Sauceda. Adriana Barraza is a Mexican performer with 42 years of experience as an actor, director, producer, and acting and neutral accent instructor. She helped me with my British accent. Her most notable work has taken her to Festival de Cannes on multiple occasions. She's appeared in the Oscar-nominated Amores Perros, which is an awesome movie.
Awesome.
Opposite Gael Garcia Bernal, ladies, calm down, and Babel, which earned her 16 nominations as Best Supporting Actress, including the Oscar, Golden Globe, and SAG Award nominations. Her work in Hollywood films include Drag Me to Hell, Henry Poole is Here, and Thor. Currently, she's filming The 33 with Antonio Banderas, Juliette Binoche, Gabriel Byrne, and Lou Diamond Phillips. That's a whole lot of sexy in one movie, isn't it? Yeah. Welcome, Adriana. Un aplauso. Memo Sauceda initiated his artistic career together with his university studies in 1982 in his native Monterrey, Mexico. Memo has performed leading roles in more than 25 theatrical productions and has lent his voice in Spanish via theatrical dubbing to Mel Gibson, John Travolta, and Kevin Costner.
That's
Whole lot more sexy.
Right?
Memo records multiple industrial videos per year and is one of the most respected on-camera and voiceover talents in the Latino market, having recorded more than 800 radio and TV commercials since last week. No, 2011, practically. Most recently, Memo can be seen in the USA series Burn Notice. Welcome, Memo.
Thank you very much for that introduction.
So let's jump in with some questions. Staying in Miami, Adriana, let's start with you. We heard Ken Howard mention the success of the Spanish language film Instructions Not Included, which made my 10-year-old daughter cry like a baby, which not that normal. She's pretty tough. But why do you think this film was so successful? Is the audience growing for Spanish language films in the U.S.?
Well, first, it's I'm really want to say thank you because this is a great opportunity to say hello, Yareli and you and everybody across the country. This opportunity to talk with all of members to SAG-AFTRA. I think Hispanic audience has been here for decades and decades and decades. And I remember several efforts to do a special production for this captive audience. For example, I was working with the first movie, Pantelion movie, From Prada to Nada, but it was in English. All the time, for many years, I heard Americans do not want to read subtitles. And it was a different reality. I want to see, I want to be the audience for another movies, not only movies, for another TV shows with subtitles. And we will see.
Worked on, Memo, you've worked on over 800 radio and TV commercials. You're both on and off camera since 2011. What do you credit for your success, and how do you prioritize between on-camera and voiceover work?
Well, two very different questions. I'll try and be succinct. I think in this and any endeavor, you need three things to succeed. The first one is talent. You need to have talent, but also you need to continue your education, because the way we act now is not the way we acted 10 years ago, or do voiceovers as well. So that's the first one. Second one, you have to have a passion to do this. Not only say I want to be an actor. You have to really need to be an actor to succeed. I mean, it's something that if you do not do, then you would be miserable. And the third one should be to have a wonderful work ethic. It's very important because most of the time directors like to work with professional guys than with very talented, obnoxious people. And how to prioritize? Well, when you're young, of course, you want to take everything that comes your way. But one of the most important lessons in this business that I've learned is that you have to say no sometimes. So you need to have a plan of where you want to go, where you want to be in a few years, and follow that plan accordingly.
Thank you, Memo. And I especially like that observation of they prefer professionals to obnoxious. Obnoxious make for a good anecdote, though, but, you know, that's as far as it gets you. Now, here back in Los Angeles, we are joined by Louie Perez of Los Lobos, actor Oscar Torre, and actor and new media pioneer Ruth Livier. Ruth Livier is an actor, writer, and producer best known for her role in the groundbreaking, award-winning TV series Resurrection Boulevard. Ruth can also be seen in Drag Me to Hell with Adriana Barraza and in the Grammy-nominated The Mark of Zorro. Ruth created, wrote, and produced the award-winning bilingual web series Ylse, and was featured on the cover of the Writers Guild of America's Written By magazine as the first writer to join the union as a result of her work in new media. Among many other awards, she was honored with the first Best Web Series in Imagen Awards history. Welcome, Ruth.
Pleasure to be here.
Louie Perez is a Los Angeles native, a rarity, and a principal songwriter and multi-instrumentalist for the acclaimed Grammy Award-winning band Los Lobos. His work has been heard in countless motion pictures and television series, most notably in several of director Robert Rodriguez's films. Also a talented visual artist, Louie has served as art director for a number of album projects and most of all of Los Lobos recording packages, and his prose and other writings have been featured in the Los Angeles Times, LA Weekly, and other national and local periodicals. Thank you for joining us today, Louie. And we have Oscar Torre, and he is best known for television audiences for his breakout role as Santo Gutierrez in the critically acclaimed series Cain, starring Jimmy Smits and Rita Moreno.
And Ken Howard.
And Ken Howard. I was going to say, it's not on the teleprompter, but come on. I mean, Ken Howard. Other television credits include guest starring roles on CSI Miami, NCSI, Dollhouse, and Cold Case. On film, Oscar is widely recognized for his role in Ladron, que roba a ladrón, and The Hangover 3. Oscar recently made his directorial debut with the indie feature Pretty Rosebud. Welcome, Oscar.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, Louie. First off, until now, many may have not realized that you are a member of SAG-AFTRA, and for not since last week, but much before that. And the union represents such a variety of sound recording artists signed at major labels. How challenging was it to create music in either language, and what are the differences in marketing your music to such diverse audiences? And how does a punk rocker from East LA make it in Hollywood?
Good questions. So for 30 years, we've been enjoying the benefits that SAG-AFTRA has offered us as being part of the union. As far as the challenges of actually creating music, whether it be in English or in Spanish, Chicanos, as you realize, I'll try not to be so verbose with this. Chicanos in particular, we straddle both sides of the fence. Historically, and hopefully, and it has been changing quite a bit, you're not completely understood in the U.S., because we, as of late, we're like a threat. So the other side of the fence, we're not totally accepted as Mexicanos because, it's just this Chicano thing. What are you? What are you? So when you're not kind of accepted on either side of this, unfortunately not imaginary border, but this physical border, what do? You sit on your hands, you say, woe is me, okay, this is my plight or whatever. No, the way we looked at it as a band, I can only speak from my own personal experience with this. The way we looked at it is that if we don't belong over here and we don't belong over there, then we belong everywhere.
Good conclusion. I like that.
So back when the Movimiento Chicano was happening, and we always talked about the Chicano Cósmico, well, there's a lot of truth to that because we are universal. We belong to the universe if we don't belong to local jurisdiction or whatever stuff's applied to us politically. You know what? As long as we wake up every morning, that's a good start. So we do our work. And I have to, there's something that Memo mentioned right now that I tell everybody who whenever I'm asked by a journalist, whatever, for advice for a young musician. And I think it would go for, and he pointed out, it goes for anybody in any medium. My advice is to do it because you love it, and as he said, it keeps you up at night. You can't think of anything else to do it, because really, it turns out, I told this to my kids who are all kind of growing up now. I've told them, if you wanted, you're usually good at something that you love. So if you start loving, if you go out wanting to become a rock star, and a rich rock star, if you want to become you do it because you want to become a movie star, then you're going to probably be disappointed. If you do it because you truly love it, you'll become good at it, and then at that point, it doesn't matter what language you're doing. Everybody's going to understand.
Mm. Okay. And I can think of, thank you very much, very insightful. I can think of other people that do it because they love it, and they perhaps love audiences and money. Lionsgate was the first one to take a step into producing a film in Spanish, but destined for the English market as well. And we have Oscar with Ladron, que roba ladrón, which was filmed entirely in Spanish for an English market. As a performer, tell us about that adventure, because it is quite fascinating. This is the first attempt that Lionsgate made, and later on Pantaleon came. But
well, it was a blessing. it was a blessing. I mean, I had moved to LA, pursuing, I wanted to work in the English market. That was my dream. And here I find myself, it's the first bigger film that I was a part of, and it was in Spanish. I had left Miami to come over here, and I auditioned. I auditioned over here, and interesting enough, the biggest challenge at that point was that I had done more stuff in English than I had done in Spanish, and they were casting pretty much Spanish stars. So I was a total outsider in a weird way. But it was a blessing. They had distributed a couple of Spanish films before that, and had done well. And this was the first time they actually put some money down and actually said, you know, we're going to produce this. We're going to take control in a way. And God bless them for doing that, because it was the first of now many that have done very well. And the film went on to be highest grossing opening weekend for a Spanish film in the U.S. And I think from that they learned also a lot how to market, because they weren't sure how to market. Like, for example, with us, Ladron, they only put marketing in the Spanish market, not the English market, not the LA Times. I personally read the LA Times. I don't read the Spanish newspapers all that much. So I would probably have not gone to see this film, because when I found out, I don't watch Spanish TV that much. I was born and raised here, and I consider myself both, American and Latino, and I embrace both cultures. And I think that's one of the things that they realized with this film, and moving forward, that other films did even better, because they learned, okay, this is an interesting market, and it's diverse. It's not, we can't put them in a box and say, okay, this is how they think, and this is how they, and I think it was great, you know, and they're producing other stuff. And
good. And we went in.
Yes.
Now, Ruth, as a performer, how challenging was it to become a producer and create your content? And especially, you chose to do it in new media. None of that, like, you know, going to Warner Brothers and begging for a film, or, you know, standing in line for a sitcom at, you know, some other network. It's like you're going to do it, you know, your way.
I mean, it would have been nice if it were, if that had been an option, really, to do it, you know, on TV and to get that sort of support, financial, marketing, and so forth. But when I first wrote the script, it was written as a half-hour comedy for TV, and a lot of the response that I got when I talked to folks in the industry was like, yeah, but it was in English with a Latina lead, and they're like, but how many people like you are there? You know, it's like, yeah. I'm like, well, I'm not that unique. Based on my friends and family and everyone that I know, I think there's probably millions of us across the country.
You needed David Viviano statistics right there.
I'm sorry?
You needed David Viviano giving them the statistics,
those statistics,
right?
And the thing is that the statistics were out there. I mean, in 2003, the census did a report called Hispanic Intelligence Report that said that 75% of Latinos were primarily English speakers, were bilingual, or spoke English well or very well. So we've been around for a long time. I think it's just, you know, taken a while for this to catch on. I think as the numbers have grown, I think it's just, you know, you can't deny the force that we are. So, anyway, so there was no way to do it in traditional media. I actually talked to an executive at a Latino conference one time, and I said, after they were speaking there to support Latino producers, up-and-coming producers and directors, I'm like, how could I possibly get this done on TV? And, you know, she looked at me and she's like, well, who are you for anyone to do your show? And I was like, wow, she's right. Who am I for traditional media? And this was right after Resurrection Boulevard. Not that that would have anything to do, but, you know, still, it's like, who are you? And I'm like, yeah, she's right. Anyway, cut to a few years later, 2008, friends of mine were doing web series at that point, and I said, wow, I have the script. So I took it off the shelf, rewrote it, and we did the show as a web series. And the thing that had changed was that now the equipment was affordable. We could shoot the show for very inexpensively. And then we also had at our fingertips worldwide distribution, which has never happened before. So it's the fact that we had a neutral internet where we could just upload our content and find an audience and compete equally with any studio anywhere else for an audience was what made the difference. So yay for new media.
Fantastic. Technology is definitely, what's changing. Thank you very much. Thank you for taking that risk. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I think this is not on the teleprompter, but I really think that SAG-AFTRA needs to go watch YouTube and just be amazed at all the number of young Latinos doing, stuff in like Gardena, Chicanos doing kind of silly cholo comedy, but with, a million views and making a living at this. And it's an amazing untapped world, and you spearheaded that for us, so thank you. Taking questions to New York, we have actor Adrian Martinez and broadcaster Clemson Smith-Muñiz. Adrian Martinez is an actor, writer, and soon-to-be director with more than 80 film and television critics. I feel like a lazy bastard. Adrian was seen in theaters nationwide this year as Ben Stiller's sidekick in the Fox remake of The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. Adrian has been seen in a wide range of character portrayals, including roles in It's Kind of a Funny Story, Casa de Mi Padre, Flight of the Conchords, hilarious, Sex and the City, Pieces of April, The Interpreter, Taxi, and Mona. Currently, he is writing and developing film and television projects through his production company, Paloma Pictures. His next project, Focus, with Will Smith, is scheduled for release this year. Welcome, Adrian. Un aplauso. Clemson Smith-Muñiz became a pioneer in Spanish language television when he broadcast Australian rules football to Latin America. How's that for thinking out of the box, huh? For ESPN International in 1991. Since then, he's helped grow Spanish language sports at the local and national level, including bringing back sports radio in New York City. Clemson's career spans nearly 4 decades as the voice of Los Knicks en Español. You gotta love that. I want the shirt, all right? I just want that. Clemson is the 3rd longest tenured NBA Spanish language announcer with the same team, and after 14 seasons as the voice of Los Jets Español. Yeah, man. Yeah, it should be Los Jets, really,
Jets.
but
Yes.
yeah, and they're gonna play Los Dodgers any minute. He's the longest tenured Jets announcer. Thank you for joining us, Clemson. Un aplauso for Clemson.
I want to start by thanking Los Angeles for giving us Phil Jackson back in New York.
Whatever. Adrian, how do you think the perception of Latino actors has changed? And what advice can you offer SAG-AFTRA members looking to work in Latino media?
I don't know. I'm kidding. Actually, I do believe that we've gotten more mainstream. When I was starting out, my first 3 jobs were a rapist on Unsolved Mysteries, a drug dealer on America's Most Wanted, and another drug dealer on something else. And my last 3 jobs, I was a Persian, con artist with Will Smith, I was a photo lab technician with Ben Stiller, and I was a cheesehead guy from Wisconsin. Now, so from my own personal perspective, I think the industry has gotten much more open to diversity. They really, in my experience, are just more drawn to the talent, and I don't feel personally the restrictions that some people feel. I feel like if you go in there and you kill it, they will just absolutely move in that direction.
All right, very nice. And yeah, come on, don't let New Yorkers out applaud you. Oh, they're so funny over there. And Clemson, how are English and Spanish coming together in the sports broadcasting market?
I think we start by saying that they allowed Adrian to make a cheesehead commercial. I'm going to rephrase the question. I think it's how is the English and Spanish language cultures coming together in sports broadcasting? Because what you're seeing now is that they're realizing that the general market likes soccer. Soccer is growing in this country at all levels. It's not just an Hispanic sport. And other side of the coin, Hispanics are sports fans. They finally realize that. And you see that we're broadcasting football, basketball, and other sports to Hispanics, not just soccer or boxing or pelota, baseball. And you see this in Los Angeles with Time Warner when they launched the regional sports network. Time Warner, what did they do? They launched a Spanish one, Time Warner Español at the same time. And they broadcast the Lakers in Spanish, the Dodgers in Spanish, the Galaxy in Spanish. That's created about 11 new positions on air for talent to broadcast between the play-by-play in color and the studio and on field. So you're starting to see a growth because we're realizing that Hispanics don't care more than just, they come to this country and they might, if they're from Mexico, Central America, they might be soccer fans first, but they will adopt the sports of their new city, and they will follow the Lakers. They will follow the Dodgers if they're in LA. If they're in New York, they'll follow the Knicks. They'll follow the Yankees. Another area you're seeing growth is last 2 years, the NFL asked its network partners to start offering the games in Spanish on SAP. So in CBS here in New York, we created 7, 8 jobs of play-by-play announcers so the games could be carried in Spanish on Sundays. You can, so you can have your choice of Jim Nantz and Phil Simms, or if you're tired of them, you can hit the button and you can hear, "Sí, señor, touchdown!" And you can start asking, what is a mariscal de campo? and finally, in another area where you're seeing the melding is sports talk radio. And we have here in New York, 1050 went all sport in Spanish and AM. A major AM frequency went in Spanish sports, and it carries the Knicks, it carries the Jets, and we're treating it the same way you do the general market. We talk sports 24/7, and we broadcast both soccer, boxing, and the American sports in español.
I was going to ask you if they instead they go, touchdown.
I have been known to blow the meter. Yes.
One more question about tell the real fast about how the decision to translate some terms, and especially quarterback, which cracked me up when we talked about it in rehearsal.
Yeah, this is. I mean, let's go back to the original question: how does English and Spanish come together in sports? And my one-word answer is Spanglish, and it will vary from region to region, broadcaster to broadcaster, but it happens. And you say quarterback, I say mariscal. You say cornerback, I say esquinero. You say linebacker, I say apoyador. And let's call the whole thing off. But it depends on a moment. I'll use basketball. There are 22 countries that speak Spanish. Spanish is only the 4th largest language in the world after Mandarin, Hindi, and English. But it's a language spoken in most countries, 22, if you include the U.S. and Puerto Rico as Spanish-speaking countries. So there's 22 ways to say things sometimes. Take the word, let's go to basketball. How do you say dunk in Spanish?
Dunk.
Dunk, well, in Spain you say mate, in Argentina you say volcada, in Mexico you must say clavado. I come up with the word martillazo, which is to hammer it home. But sometimes when you're in the heat of the moment, I'll say, Prigioni, el alley-oop, el donkeo, Carmelo. It's because it's what comes out. So I use English intermittently, but this is the era we live in. We're a bicultural, bilingual country, and English and Spanish will work depending on the moment.
So sending back to Miami, Adriana, the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, or NATAS, which that sounds like Spanglish, announced 3 new categories in each of its national competitions to recognize excellence in Spanish language programming. This is the first time that Spanish language programming will be recognized by NATAS. How do you think it's going to affect Spanish language production in the U.S.?
Well, everybody knows that words are really attractive. And I hope these attractive things traduce in a lot of productions for every kind of Hispanic talent, because I think it's so fair that this kind of a great group of Hispanic talent in this country have the opportunity to show their abilities. And I really hope we will have a lot of productions in Hispanic language. Lo espero de verdad, de corazón.
Right. They're drinking tequila over there. That's good. Memo, what advice can you share on how to pursue and book commercial voiceover work in English and Spanish? And this has come up. I'm sorry to jump in, and I'm not trying to take over, but
you are taking.
I'm working on this new Fox show, Bordertown, and Spanglish has come up, and the Spanish of the Mexican immigrants is an issue. And I told my boss, we have to nail it right, because it's just like writing a joke. Mm-hmm. It's got to be honest, like writing a script. All the work has to come from a real place, right? Because the audience will check out, if you do something inauthentic, like paste picante sauce or whatever. So anyway, New York City. That's right.
Miami. We're in Miami.
Do you see more bilingual commercials being produced in your market?
Yes, we do. And going back to the first part of your question, nowadays in voiceovers, and I think also in acting, you have a new triple threat. It used to be acting, dancing, and singing. Now is your talent, which could be acting, singing, dancing, or the three of them. Then you will be a triple threat. Then you have how to market and brand yourself. That if you know how to do that, you will have more work. And the last one, you have to be technologically savvy. Nowadays, you need to know how to record yourself at home or when you're traveling. Also, how to edit your own on-camera demos. So you need to know all these things to really succeed. I mean, if a producer wants to hear your voice or see you, you must be able to send him an email with whatever he desires, like a narration demo, for example. And as you said, I love that now they're using English and Spanish in commercials, but it has to be organic. You cannot have something forced, like something very obvious that the director told someone to say in Spanish, like, "Ay, caramba, no lo puedo creer." It sounds fake, so it has to be a very normal thing, like, "Ay, caramba, no lo puedo creer."
Do we have? I just want to point out that Bordertown is produced with Seth MacFarlane, and I mean, it signals that a new time has come. Because just like in its time, Lionsgate, or in its time, just all of the new networks that have come up, etc. Everyone is searching. Bordertown could not have been made. Do you think it could have been made 10 years ago?
No, the creators have been doing it, pushing it for 6 years, and until now, finally, the dam burst.
It's like, wow, yeah, we better get in there.
There's no one in more shock than I am that I have a full-time job.
A full-time job, really?
I have 5 full-time jobs. So.
All right, artist. Adriana, I know you have to leave us early this evening, so one last question for you, and it has to do with something that Memo touched on, the idea that this, natural accent, the Spanish accent, the Spanish dialect, or in English, Spanish and English, etc. You are a coach. You do neutral Spanish and neutral accent. Tell us a little bit about that, because you live in a very complex and cosmopolitan area in Miami of Latin Americans from all over Latin America, and there is this standard English, standard Spanish. What is that all about?
Well, I am a neutral teacher, neutral accent for almost 25 years, and I can prove the necessity to the all of kind of Latin American actors have to this kind of talk who can to give work. For example, you have an Argentinian actor with a Venezuelan actor, with a Cuban actor, and they have to do the same family. And if you have different accents, obviously the audience can't believe this fiction, and we have to. I know we have to change our accent only for work, because yes, only for work, because I really believe the necessity for us to conserve our differences between nationalities, because it is our treasure, our real treasure, our real heritage. But for work here in this country, we need to have neutral accent.
I'm sure. Much, it's, you know, like the British are masters of it. You know, they never lose their British accent, ever, you know, except when they are working. And they do it so well that you forget that they're from anywhere else other than Wyoming. Yeah. You know, I mean, it's just... I remember with House, you know, I'm saying that incredible actor who helped me with the name. Oh, my God, I just got... Hugh Laurie. I got nervous. And, of course, you know, you hear him talk on just being himself, and you're like, where's Dr. House? You have been lying to me all this time. I can't believe, because he does it so well, you know. Yeah. And I think that, I don't know, Adriana, would you say that we have to approach this issue of accent kind of with that rigor of going to class and really kind of learning how to do it? I don't know. You could be the master.
No, I think we have to take classes, because the professor has the shortcut, you know, the short road to be successful in this area. No, it's not an issue like that. It has a linguistic issue. It has a so professional issue. But I think here in Miami there are a lot of professors to neutral accent, and obviously I invited all of actors to do this. I know maybe it's not agradable for everybody, because maybe you feel like a golpe, like algo feo para tu nacionalidad, but it's not there. This is reason because I said all the time, you have to keep your accent, because it's your idiosyncratic feel of way of life. But you have to work in this country, and this is the only way you have to do.
Adriana, thank you so much for offering your time and your expertise tonight. Very valuable. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much.
That is a huge issue, the whole accent thing, and you know, you're very involved, your personality is involved, your identity is involved, but we need to work. Let's talk to Louie. And I'm really happy that we have a musician right here, because I think it's been said, and I have confirmed it in my short experience in the world, that music is always kind of ahead in picking up the trends that are, you know, of our society, of our community. I mean, whatever's going on, music seems to reflect it first. So your music, you know, has a very distinctive sound, which is largely due to like incorporating traditional Mexican instruments. How was the sound received, and how did you come to do, you know, to produce this sound, and how was it received with the audiences, both audiences?
Okay. Well, I guess what we did was actually we went backwards, because instead of looking forward at something that might be hip or trendy, 1973, when the band was formed, we put down rock and roll and the Stratocasters and the Fender amplifiers, and we picked up traditional Mexican music instruments, música folclórica. So
I'd say that was forward for rock and roll artists.
Yeah, well, it depends how you're looking at it. Back then, most of our musical peers thought we were out of our minds, because the whole part of the homogenization process here in the U.S. is that you want to become sanitized of your culture. This is how it is when you come here to the United States. And when we were raised by our parents, who were, I'm a son of an immigrant father and mother. It's a very painful experience for them, so they don't want their children to go through that. So Spanish a lot of times isn't encouraged, right? So for us, growing up listening to rock and roll, it was very unusual for us to pick up traditional Mexican music. And our musical peers, there's no teenagers that were doing this, and they were looking at us like, why are you doing this? So why are you doing that? You're spending the whole afternoon in a garage trying to sound just like the record, when we're doing something that actually kind of belongs to us.
Mm.
So
finding the new sound.
Finding that. And then, of course, that traditional Mexican music was coming through these sensibilities, our own. We came out of rock and roll. We put away rock and roll to play música mexicana regional, and we brought our own kind of rockness to it. Even though we were playing traditional music, we didn't create like more of a fusion of the music until very late, after 10 years of exploring Mexican music. And again, getting back to this idea that you have to dedicate yourself to what you love, and we love this, and we learned how to do it very well. Wow. And wasn't until we, you got to kind of perfect, and I'm not saying we're perfect, but you got to become somewhat perfect the vehicle for your statement. At that point, we were really trying to make statements. We were a statement without even trying. Here we are. If you went to go see us play, you'd see at that time it looked like Neil Young's Crazy Horse. Everybody's in long hair and beards and beat up jeans and flannel shirts, and we'd show up somewhere at a tarriada at a park or something, and the older generation would see that, okay, the rock and roll band's going to start. They'd get up and they'd start to leave, and then we'd start to play. And then they look and they say, like, wow, I'm hearing traditional Mexican music, but I'm not seeing the people that I'm used to playing this. So it was, at that point for us, we saw this bridge being built between generations, which hadn't been done in a long time. And we were getting, instead of just usual, buddies coming up, hey, that was a great guitar solo, we were having somebody's grandma coming up and giving us a bendición and saying how much they loved what we were playing. And we was like, wow, this is a nice byproduct of this.
Okay.
And so, but at the same time, Yareli, I have to tell you, when we played traditional Mexican music, in a way, we were kind of following our heart, and not really following what somebody's natural tendency or idea of what success might be. Idea of success might be. Because here we were, young guys just out of high school playing Mexican music. We still, we got into this because we wanted to play rock and roll. When I was a little kid, I took a broom and I did my best Elvis impersonation in front of a mirror.
But in a sense, that is the marriage of the cultures, happening.
Oh yeah,
and that's coming from a very authentic place. Yeah.
But at the same time, when you really kind of look at it on face value back then, was that we were kind of shutting down any possibility for big success because there was no precedent for that. Maybe there was Trini Lopez or somebody like that, right? But there wasn't any model for us to follow. There wasn't any role model, except Richie Valens, of course, was way back, 17 years old. His success was 18 months. He was a rock star.
Wow.
So so for us, it was like, okay, we couldn't imagine that doing this we can become a big success. We wouldn't see our name on a #1 song on the Billboard charts playing Mexican music. But what happened? Roll the tape forward. 1987, for the summer of '87, there was a song that was 100-year-old canción folclórica veracruzana, done by Chicano musicians with the name Los Lobos of all things. We didn't change our name from to the electric chair or something, just so we can kind of so we can kind of fit in. We kept it that way. But there it was for weeks and weeks on #1 on the Billboard chart. And that was a lot. That says a whole bunch.
What is that song? Anselma.
No, that song was La Bamba.
La Bamba.
Yeah, traditional Veracruzana, #1 hit throughout, worldwide hit. So,
all right.
You know, that has a lot to say. What you gotta be careful what you wish for.
That's right. Now, Oscar, do you feel that your work in Spanish language film helped you secure work in English language films, or how were you seen? Because you had come from English, gone to Spanish, and now back.
I think it's a funny story, and it definitely has. It definitely has. I had moved to LA at the end of '98, but '99 I wasn't here a lot. So I had only been here 6 years, really, in LA, when I booked Ladron que Roba Ladron. All that time I had been, like most actors, you know, trying to get work and not being very successful at it, and going auditions and not going my way, and all of a sudden here comes Ladron que Roba Ladron. I auditioned. I felt like I was a long shot, although I felt that was perfect for the role. But I felt the same way about every other role I had auditioned. And I booked it. So here it was like my big break in a Spanish film produced by an American studio, Lionsgate. And interesting enough, having gone all these years trying to get work, all of a sudden I get Ladron que Roba Ladron, and we shoot the film, and of course it goes into editing and all that, and I had no idea when the film was going to be released. I knew it would be the following year, 2007, but 5 months later, I booked Kane. And those two shows totally, that film and that show totally changed my career. And interesting enough, Kane aired the same week as Ladron came out in theaters.
Oh,
The pilot.
Double threat
So
there.
it was like working at it. Like they had said, you know, working on my craft, studying, you know, writing films that never got made, and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, everything happened.
Clicked.
All at once.
Now, Ruth, you pioneered a web series that featured predominantly a Latino cast, but was shot almost entirely in English. How did you market the series to gain the popularity you have?
Well, for us, it wasn't as much about language initially, it was about cultural relevancy. It's like being authentic, como estaban diciendo, como dijo Lalo, you know? I just wanted to write a show that reflected what I felt was my reality and the reality of a lot of the people around me. So by doing that, a couple of things happened in terms of language that you're speaking. First, I did it Spanglish, and then we went to we were accepted at the Ylse Film Festival and won an award there. And I asked the students, I'm like, are you okay with it being Spanglish, no subtitles, or should I do it all in English, Spanish, subtitles? ¿Qué quieren? ¿Qué hago? Y las muchachas me decían, no, that's our reality, that's how we are, that's our world, we love it, we haven't seen this before, así déjalo. Okay, perfect, genial. So then, as the show started to get out there more and more, I started to receive a lot of emails and feedback from the audience directly, which was another great thing about net neutrality, the direct contact with the audience. And then a lot of people who spoke very little Spanish would say, I love the show, I have high school Spanish, but I'm missing the scene that's all in Spanish, and I really would like to understand. and I would get the reverse from Spanish speakers about the scenes that were in English or Spanglish. So for the second season, we did the show in 3 versions. We did the original Spanglish version with no subtitles, and then we did a version with English language subtitles, and then one with all Spanish language subtitles. So that increased the audience that we were able to reach.
Wow.
And now by being authentic about our biculturalism, that just happens to be expressed in these 2 languages, we reached an even broader audience. I got emails from different places around the world. One that really struck me. This woman in France, her name is Julia, and she's Jewish, Russian, and she lives in France, and her experience was also bicultural. 2 different cultures, 2 different languages. She found us online somehow, and she's like, I can relate so much. I'm like, it's amazing how you can come from 2 different parts of the world and relate to each other so much and be so alike because of that bicultural experience. So that's something else that I think it's an audience that we don't know about, that's out there for us, and it's even bigger than we think.
That is awesome, because it's beyond what are like bilingual Spanish-English. It's bilingual, bicultural, period, which is a vast experience in the world right now. And you did kind of what your music did. You went cross-generation by doing the subtitles in English, the subtitles. Everybody's comfortable. Everybody has access.
Everybody's comfortable. Y aparte de eso, that everybody is comfortable, exactly. And then bringing Alma Delfina, for example, to come and play my mom on the show. Just bring artistas de Mexico to
big
be a
soap
part of the
opera
show.
actress.
Big soap opera actress, and just blending those 2 experiences, Latino experiences, into one is just such a great opportunity on the web that we were able to accomplish. Our great team.
If you shoot a 3rd season, I'm available.
Yes.
We're all available. You have a room of actors, I believe. Yeah, fantastic, cutting edge. Yeah.
I do my work in English and Spanish, and I piss off everybody.
Equal
universally. That's really sad for me. Before we go back to New York, some quick housekeeping. Hey, that's racist. Who wrote that? No, I'm just kidding.
They gave it to the Mexican or the Mexican.
It's a joke. Right. But we did sweep the Oscars. Hey.
That's funny.
Live audience members, if you're still alive, please pass your question cards in to the volunteers. Aha, standing by to be included in the Q&A that's coming right up. Now in New York City, Clemson, you are the play-by-play voice of Los Knicks en Español for Madison Square Garden Network for Secondary Audio Programming, or SAP, SAP, however you want to say it. How did you first get involved with the Knicks, and what can you share with our members on how to get started in the field of Spanish language broadcasting?
It's 1993. I'm still learning at ESPN International, broadcasting everything from A to W, Australian rules football to wrestling. And it was a period where there was no Spanish language sports in New York City. Not even baseball. The Yankees and the Mets had stopped broadcasting in Spanish. And a friend of mine, Adrian Martinez, and I looked at each other and say, well, we should approach the Knicks and ask them to do basketball in Spanish. And mind you, we grew up in Puerto Rico, where basketball is a major sport. In fact, we're part of the generation that grew up preferring basketball to baseball. So we're in this Manhattan apartment one afternoon, and we literally did a cold call. I asked for the marketing guy at the Knicks at the time, and I identify myself, and I say, I'm calling because I think you should do the Knicks in Spanish. And there was silence. And then he says, do Hispanics like basketball? And then we had to go and explain the whole story. Yeah, I grew up in Puerto Rico. It's a major sport. It might not be everybody's first sport, but it's everybody's second sport. The World Championship has been held in Latin America like 5 times. It went through the whole song and dance. But it took like a year and a half of badgering the Knicks, badgering the NBA, and badgering WFAN 660 A80, who had the rights in English. And they were saying, no, our rights are universal, regardless of the language. And we just kept butting heads and pushing. And until one day in April, 20 years ago, around this, very soon, next month, I got a phone call saying from FAN, from the general manager, Joel Hollander, who said, you still want to do the Knicks in Spanish? I said, yes, of course. Go ahead. And we had to scramble and find a station. We found KDM, 1380 AM. Alvaro and I walked into the general manager's office, all dressed up in their suits, blue suits, nice tie, looking very professional. And he says, well, how can I help you guys? And we said, well, we have the Spanish language rights to the Knicks. And the general manager, Gino Hannemeyer, saying, knowing how the market is, en cuántos charlatanes hay en nuestro negocio. How many, he threw us out. He threw us out of his office. So we went back in, and he threw us out back again. And I went back a third time. And he finally, you really have the Spanish language rights to the Knicks? And we got on. We got on for the playoff run. That was 1994, when the Knicks went to the finals and lost to the Houston Rockets in 7 games. But that was the beginning of what is now 20 years of Los Knicks en Español, both on radio and TV and SAP. So my advice to those who want to get into sports broadcasting is, besides being persistent, is also look around and realize if you're in a community with a growing Hispanic market and you have Spanish language outlets, but no sports are being broadcast in Spanish, just go up and whether it be college, because we did St. John's in Español for 7 years. You just go up and say, you go to university, let's say you live in an area, it could be Arizona, it could be New Mexico, it could be even Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi now, where Hispanics are growing, and say you should be broadcasting your games in Spanish, and hook up a station with the team. That's how I did it. And I think there's a lot of opportunity out there. It's not limited to the major markets like Miami, New York, and Los Angeles.
Wow, that's a great story. Thank you. You'll know that the Latino takeover is complete when they do hockey en español,
Hockey en español.
No way. Lalo, you laugh, but I did 2 Stanley Cup finals in the 90s for ESPN.
Oh, okay. It's complete. It's complete.
So how do you say stick in Spanish?
I can't repeat it. This is a PG broadcast.
No. No, we call it baston. You can say palo, but we say baston.
Wow.
And how would you say a disc? I mean a puck.
Puck.
Disco, un disco.
Un disco.
El disco.
Adrian, a question that I've been dying to ask. You were part of the cast
Single.
of...
Thank you very much.
Oh, I know. I found that out. So I'm already okay there. But, Casa de mi Padre, I have to bring it up. I mean, somebody like Will Ferrell, again, it's kind of like Seth MacFarlane looking for Border Town. Casa de mi Padre, Will Ferrell, a film in Spanish. And even it has a card that comes up that says, yes, this film is in Spanish. And it will be in Spanish for the rest of the film. I mean, it's so daring, and obviously coming from somebody, as strong as Will Ferrell in this industry. Tell us, what was that all about, and why is it possible to have made Casa de mi Padre now? What do you think?
Well, I tell you, Will Ferrell seems to have something to do with Spanish because his production company is Gary Sanchez Productions, so he loves the Spanish folklore and history. I think he just thought it would be a really interesting experiment to do a movie like that, and he's had that idea in his mind for a long time. And he understood that the Latinos go out and they buy movie tickets. And Casa de mi Padre was released as an art house movie. It cost $6 million. It made its money back without 1 cent in marketing. The only advertising was Will Ferrell doing a couple talk shows, and that was it. And just by word of mouth, it made its money back and then some. And so I think we need to just see that as an opportunity to build on, because I do know that there's a lot of opportunity for bilateral productions between Mexico and the United States.
Will Ferrell came on my radio show, the Pocho Hour of Power, heard here.
Yes.
on Fridays on KPFK, 4 p.m. on Fridays, and
plug it.
was the nicest guy and was actually afraid of me. So it was very nice.
You felt very strong.
Yeah, I felt strong. He's like 20 feet tall and stuff. But
you should call him Will Ferrer. He loves that.
Guillermo.
Will Ferrer.
Guillermo.
Will
Ferrer.
Ferrer.
Are we going to that one?
No, we're going to. I think that we are going to questions from the audience, right? And things that we have received both in live audience and via email. Do you have a great one?
I have a great one from Zulma via email. I'm moving to Los Angeles to pursue my dream of acting in 2 weeks. Oh, make room. What advice would you have for a 38-year-old bilingual Chicana Feliz from Hawaii? I have heard all the negative things I shouldn't do. However, what are the things that I should do? Ooh. Who are the people that I should approach for more advice in LA? And what group of actors should I belong to? Well, we know the answer to that last one, SAG-AFTRA.
Okay, who do you want to answer that question?
Any of the actors here. Louie just acts badly in after midnight.
I'm going to say the obvious first. Make sure you have a car.
Make sure you have a car.
Make sure you have a car, and you're not allergic to traffic. Be patient. Once you get here, it might happen right away, but it might not, and you need to be ready for that. And I wouldn't focus on limitations, like your age or this or that. Everybody's going to tell you your limitations.
Oscar, your mic. Keep your mic in front.
I'm sorry. Don't focus on your limitations. Everybody's going to tell you about your limitations. Let them do that. Work on your craft. Show up every day. Be patient. Right away. Try to create your own work. Right. We're living at a great moment that with technology, that anybody can grab a digital camera, shoot a film, edit, and send it to festivals. Mm-hmm. Or put it on the web. Don't wait for somebody to give you an opportunity. It might come, but be proactive. Make it happen yourself. You're taking a huge step in moving over here to LA. So don't sit and wait. Don't waste time with partying and getting involved with all the wrong reasons. I think my agent might be calling. I heard a phone.
Okay.
He's like, stop telling the secrets that I taught you.
Do you have a good one there? Or go ahead. Okay. I have one from Tammy via email, and they're asking, if you are an English speaker, is it realistic to think that if you become bilingual, there will be more job opportunities, or will the jobs most likely go to native speakers? Ooh. If we had Adriana here, do we have Adriana in Miami, or she's gone? Okay. Memo in Miami, would you like to take on that question?
Can you repeat the question? No. Actually, there's concern in the board here in Miami about that, precisely that. But there are opportunities for everyone. I mean, you've seen it also in movies. I mean, the American trying to speak Spanish. So it is there. And if we create more content with that awareness that we have this wonderful pool of actors that speak English that can be part of our productions, then it'll be great. Yeah.
Oh, well. It's this idea of authenticity. There is room for everybody because we are a world with everyone in it. So therefore, there are people that are English speakers that sort of speak Spanish. There are those that don't speak a word. And, there's room for them to be reflected in the content, right? So that's basically what we're saying, Memo, I think, from your advice. Thank you.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we can always improve in whatever field we do, and not make it somebody else's fault You know, put it on yourself and work harder. That's all. This is for Ruth. Are you targeting your marketing efforts for Ylse differently than you would if it were a more traditional production? And by what means and outlets?
I'm marketing, or we've marketed the way we could with zero marketing dollars. It would be a lot different if we had those dollars, I guess, a budget, yeah. But social media has been really helpful. 2 hours after we launched the first episode, we had Latina Lista from Texas doing a review on the show and recommending us. Then Nalip I got in touch with the folks at Nalip, being a member there, and they put us on their newsletter, and that reached a bunch of people, and then journalists and Tube Filter. So we started to get a lot of just web press and word of mouth, and that's how it just kind of took off, and just people looking. That was what was interesting too. There were people looking for this kind of content, and they just happened to find us because they were going Hispanic shows, and there we were. So that's how it happened. So yeah, if we had a budget, there would be a bigger plan, but it's all worked out so far.
Are you going to be doing a third season, or what?
I mean, I would love it. The third season is written, so, hopefully, yeah.
Okay.
And then I've got another project, a 1-hour dramedy that I'm working on.
Yeah. And you have a film?
A film, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you were part of the reading,
Yeah,
exactly.
No.
And Sergio was there.
Very productive actor. So in a sense, that's what I keep hearing, that we want, we heard from our our absent panelists at the beginning with Demian and Cicely Saldana saying, we need to create content. We need to create our own stories. So there's a lot of that. And those stories include, the world we live in as it is, not just Latinos, Do you have a...
This is a good one. From Maria L. Via email. I realize there are more roles now for Latinos in general than in years past, but I am now a more mature actress and find that most roles for us are more stereotypical, those of maids, housekeepers, or nannies. And of those, there have been very few. Has there been any discussion about this issue? Wow. Well, it's a very devious issue. I guess you could play a sexy maid, but
Devious maid.
Devious maid.
Yeah, but what do you guys think? What do you think, Yareli?
Well, I do think that there's an age situation in, that is a reality of the actor. And one more time, it's about us writing the stories, ourselves. These roles that she speaks of, housekeepers, nannies, etc., are the typical ones. The now typical ones coming up are, as my manager friend, Marianne, had mentioned, they're all cops, right? Those are like that's the new role that we all have. We're cops. And unless we write something different, I don't think that there's a chance for difference. I don't know exactly what advice to give our friend, Maria L., on the email, other than just keep in the loop, keep in the, and these roles that you're describing are possibly, they're film, they're TV, there's theater, there's new media. There's different ways of speaking out, and if you don't write yourself, you need to go find your team. You need to go find your fellow writers, your fellow directors, all of the people that are trying to get something done and said. Because I think that, there's no sense in just waiting for the call.
To that?
Yes,
yeah,
please.
I just wanted to say that there's a report that the Hollywood Diversity 2014 Hollywood Diversity Report, and then the 2013 WGA reports that came out. And Latinos are still the most underrepresented demographic relative to our numbers in this country. So we're not behind cameras, we're not in the writers' rooms, we're not in front of, and then consequently we're not in front of the cameras as as much as we should be. So our option is to create our own content. So there's an issue that I keep talking about is net neutrality. The only way that we're going to be able to get our content out there is if we protect the net neutrality rules, which are basically the Internet Bill of Rights.
Yes.
So our option is to create our own content. The only way that we're going to be able to get our content out there is if we protect the net neutrality rules, which are basically the Internet Bill of Rights. Yes.
Yes.
Bill of Rights.
Absolutely. We have a question from New York for Oscar. Is there a difference in the type of Latino, the look, the type of roles that are cast in LA versus New York versus Miami?
Wow, that's a tough question, but I don't think so. I mean, I'm from Miami. I live in LA, and they keep asking me, "Am I from New York?" So,
great.
So I might not be the right person to answer that, but I don't think so. I think it's just a matter of. Once again, I won't think of limitations. I've always tried not to think of limitations. You're an actor, you show up, you do the work, and hopefully it'll go your way. But who knows why it doesn't go your way when it doesn't. I don't think it's because you're from New York or Miami or LA.
Okay. All right, there you have it.
All right, very good. From Stephanie via email, and I think Memo or anybody else that might want to chime in on this one. I'm a Spanish-English speaking actor. Are there certain talent agencies who are supplying to the Spanish programming market? So basically, is there is there one place to go? Is there a conduit, or is it all over the map?
In Miami, there are agencies just for the novelas and for the programming that it's made here. So if you want to act in a novela, and most of the Spanish-speaking productions are being done here in Miami, then you have to come to Miami. And here, I mean, the office knows all the talent agencies that are SAG-AFTRA, so they can guide you. And if I may go back to the previous question, we have three wonderful examples about Americans acting in Hispanic productions. In Sábado Gigante, they had El Gringo Loco, and he was an American doing slapstick comedy in Sábado Gigante. And in most of the novelas that they do here, they have the Miami court, and most of the people speak in English because it's the reality that we live in. So the productions that are being done here with the locations being in the United States have a lot of American actors in them.
Hello. Just a little political here, but Hispanics are Americans too. I just haven't, other things like when you say Americans, it's like Anglo as opposed to, all the rest of America.
Perfect. So let's standardize. So Anglo, perfect.
What advice would you give Latino minor actors in the industry? Minor, I imagine, is not as in age minors, but
there's a movie about minors being made, so.
Chilean minors, yeah.
The minors. Okay, all right. No, well, it's a minor. What background maybe, or did they work kind of as smaller roles? Minor. Okay. Oh, underage. So children. I was thinking when Clemson was talking about sports, and he said, well, soccer used to be, just a Mexican thing, a Latino thing, whatever, and now it has gone national. And I was thinking, and why has it gone national? And it has a lot to do with the fact that it seeped into schools because it's an easy game to play. So all of a sudden, I was in a film called The Big Green with Disney. And I'll tell you, every kid in this United States saw it because everywhere that I would go, it's like, Juan's mom. And I was like, they don't remember me or my name or whatever. I was just, was the only kid that knew how to play soccer in their school. And of course, we were undocumented immigrants, and I didn't want him out there in playing, and you come straight home. And they came to beg me to please have him play because it's like he can teach us and we can win and etc. But this was back in 1994. So by now, all of those students that were middle school, high school have gone through soccer training, and amazing female soccer is huge. But this is the way that one more time, it's cross-cultural, pollination. It's beautiful if you let it happen, So in that vein, we go back to this now fantastic question from Amri. What advice would you give to Latino children actors, I would say, in the industry? call Paul Peterson. Who wants to take this question? New York, Miami, LA. Louie said it's been too long.
Yes, I would just say here in New York that children really need to know why they're getting into this business. They need to get into it for the right reasons. Their parents should talk to them about what this really entails, and you should go into it because you want to have fun and you're willing to just explore the world of acting and creating. It's not about fame or fortune. Very few people become famous and really rich. Go into it for the right reasons and do like a real soul check about that with your kids.
Yeah, it's sort of like who's the actor, the kid or the parent, too. That there's a little danger there.
I love these questions because I have a punchline for each one. But
okay. Okay, control yourself, Lalo, please.
I'm sorry, this is too much fun. From Alexis via email. We got a lot of Hawaiians watching us. Great. Hello, Hawaii.
Hi, Hawaii. What time is it in Hawaii?
It's like 2013 there. It's so far away. My new agent in Hawaii, I was not aware there were talent agents in Hawaii. That's great. Told me I could have problems with my Latino accent in order to get jobs. Penelope Cruz and Salma Hayek are very successful with their accent. Why should I change mine? Okay.
I know the punchline. Say the punchline.
I'm going to get sued for a sexy joke, so I'm not going to say anything. But I guess, the Adriana was, she emphasized the importance of being able to be such a pro that you work hard on yourself. If you're an actor, you can do the other accents or the neutral one and keep your own. There's no need to pretend that you don't have an accent. But also, if you look like Penelope Cruz and Salma Hayek, who's listening to what you're saying? Let's be honest.
Bad. No, that's
okay.
Very
See,
bad.
now they're kicking me out. Great. Thanks.
Now I have to bring something up. It's very interesting, and Demian Bichir, who is on the bridge, and we heard from him at the beginning. He's a good friend, and he once told me, it's like, I'm never going to lose my accent. I can't. I'm too old. I'm not. So I am not going to fool myself for going after these roles that are like, no one will notice that I am Mexican. No one will notice my accent. It's like, yeah, it's going to become part of me. It's like I have taken stock, and this is what I can do. And he kind of just did exactly like, hone your craft, do the best, be the best actor that you can. And this, the accent, when it can work, they'll let it go. I mean, obviously it's this whole going back to language, is it Spanish, is it English, is it Spanglish, whatever. It's communicating, it's getting through, I think. And
Arnold Schwarzenegger never lost his Spanish accent, so.
He still has it, heavy.
This I'm gonna get in so much trouble. Why don't you read it and see what happens?
What? No. From New York, for Adrian, this is the question. What do you think of non-Latino actors playing Latino roles?
Go for it, but you're up against Latinos who can really portray an authenticity that you cannot. And I just feel like everyone should be able to go for every role. If Latinos, if whites can play Latino roles, why can't Latinos play white roles? And to be honest, I mean, I have spent the last 15 years playing all kinds of different characters and roles. And I think it's not about whether it's English or Spanish. It's not about the color of your skin. It's not about the accent. It's about the wow. Like when you walk into that audition room, if that air pops because you were in there, you will get the job. Or they will remember you and they will hire you for something else. That has been my history and that of many of my colleagues.
For Louie Perez. This one is all the way from Los Angeles. What advice do you have for a new Latino composer to promote or market a song in English?
Tell her I'll pick up the milk and the bread on the way home.
Yes, from Mrs. Perez. Yes.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm being silly. What was the question again?
Advice. What advice do you have for a new Latina composer to promote or market a song in English?
There's all the, I'm going to support my buddy right here because there's just an unlimited wealth of way of distributing your music online. My industry has completely kind of turned upside down because of the internet. There's very successful bands and recording artists that you'll never see on the cover of the Rolling Stone because they don't even bother with that anymore. The recording contract is something that's going to go away, just like with your cell phone contracts are going to go away too. You can promote yourself. You can do so much stuff online. But of course, like with SAG-AFTRA, you need to be protected. And by going with BMI or ASCAP or some of the companies and get yourself a good publishing administrator, which is a person who actually interfaces with the BMI or the AFTRA. And what they do as the administrators, what they do is they pitch. So if you've got a song or two and a client or they get a call for a movie or a television commercial, your song might be the one that they might be perfect for the
right
the part.
place at the right time.
So that's it. I mean, the songwriting, I'll tell you, everybody right here, songwriting is the most lucrative thing in the music business because it's where, like if I sit at home and I get a call on Monday that my song is going to be used in some major motion picture, I've already had a good week. I've probably already had a good year because it's a very lucrative part. Right share music. Go ahead. Oh, of course. Yeah, number one. Own your own stuff. And it's all about ownership.
Mm-hmm. Ownership. Yeah, ownership of your creative product. Okay. That's interesting. Lalo, there's something on the screen there that I don't know, should we pay attention or forget it? No, not yet. Okay. For Memo in Miami, what is the best advice anyone gave you regarding your career?
Perhaps it was my first acting teacher, and he taught me the respect for this career. As some of you have mentioned, some people are here for the fame or for the money. It's not about that. You need to have a passion. And if you have that passion, you need to respect the trade. So I think that remained with me, and that's why I love this career.
That's great advice for basically everything.
Yeah.
Life.
Life.
For Clemson, with your experience in so many different sports, do you personally have a favorite?
I grew up with basketball, and basketball, I think, when the Knicks are beating up on the Lakers, it's as good as it's get. But the NFL has grown in importance, and the NFL is more like weekly theater. Every Sunday, everybody tunes in, and I think also, and having the fortune to broadcast a couple of Super Bowls on radio, yes, I think a football game up there because it has the pacing, the tempo, the crowd. It's become my favorite. NFL Sundays, a big game, big crowd, big time.
Back to Memo in Miami, because I've been meaning to ask this throughout the program. Our president, Ken Howard, mentioned MyLingo. And this is an app that allows you to listen to the soundtrack of a film through your iPhone because you downloaded the soundtrack in Spanish or in Hungarian or in whatever you feel more comfortable with. Watch the film in the theater, but have this audio going in your personal iPhone, and just it connects to, I don't know what signal it uses, but it just connects to the picture. These were actually two Polish brothers, sons of immigrants from Harvard, that came up with this app. And the first time that it's going to be officially used is with a Cesar Chavez film coming out from Pantaleon.
Oh.
It's coming in 2 weeks, I think it's in
28th.
theaters, right? 28th, March 28th. What you have done a lot of dubbing, Memo, and what do you think this is going to do? And we definitely, this is a moment when we need to ask our union to get right in there, because I'm wondering who's doing the dubbing soundtracks of My Lingo, right?
It will be great. I mean, for us actors here in SAG-AFTRA, the way it matches the English, the secondary language, to the English is with the mic. I mean, it hears what it's being said in English, and then it will sync with the secondary audio that you choose. Of course, this is a great opportunity to start doing dubbing here in the States, because sadly, most of the people in Mexico or in Colombia started bastardizing the trade, and this goes back to respect your trade. Many people just started charging less for the work, and then now it will cost you to go and do a retake for a movie because the gas that you're spending is more than what you're being paid. So this is a great historic opportunity to really bring the job of dubbing here to the States through SAG-AFTRA.
Or else Siri is going to do it, and that would suck. Oh, sorry, I meant someone's going to hold up an iPhone to the movie. No offense, Siri, sorry. For Clemson, do you do any specific vocal exercises before going live on the air? And my part of the question is, can we hear them if they're funny?
You mean you want me to do salsa karaoke? I actually, when I would get in the car early on. Are we having audio issues? Let's see. When I started out in the 90s, I would do things like when I was driving around, I would listen to salsa and do my own karaoke in the car. On a way to broadcast. I took voice lessons with a teacher. He was Cuban. He made me do things like speak with a pencil in my mouth. You got to remember, in Spanish, the vowels are flat, but you have to articulate. And there was some of the neutral Spanish. I grew up in Puerto Rico, where we tend to speak fast, to jump over syllables, not roll our R's. And I had to work on all of that. You had to say ferrocarril. It's Puerto Rico, not Puerto Rico, as it may sound sometimes when you speak. Cuando uno habla, oye, mano, chico, mano, ¿qué pasa? You speak very fast, and I had to work through that. I had to slow down. I had to not quite look for neutral accent, but look for use words, knowing that I'm in New York. That I'm speaking to citizens of 22 different countries. So to look for a word that maybe not the one they use, but they would understand what I was saying. And that's a challenge, I think, of broadcasting in New York in Spanish. It's the most diverse Hispanic market. So you have the largest number of different accents, and if there's 22 countries that speak Spanish, sometimes there'll be 22 different ways to say things. And this it maybe happens to some extent in Miami. You can argue Southern California is more homogenized. Yeah, broadcasting New York, it is a challenge because you're speaking to Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Argentines, Salvadorians, Colombians, up and down, everybody. One and all.
I know I've been to Miami, and I speak Spanish, and we didn't understand each other. Listen, when I was serving the coffee, they were speaking at 78 RPM, and I was at 33 RPM. That was just not happening. But I love Miami because it's like the Noah's Ark of Latinos. There's like 2 Latinos from each country in every room that you go to. It's really amazing, you know. We're going to stay with New York, though, and go to Rebecca Damon, who's going to read a special announcement.
Hi, this is definitely the social media event of SAG-AFTRA for the season. We've been getting notes,
Have her hang on a
emails.
second while we adjust the audio.
We're going to adjust the audio for a second here. Go ahead, I think.
Are we good?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
I was just saying that this has obviously been the technological and social media event of the SAG-AFTRA season. We've been getting emails and tweets and Facebook posts from everybody on our board. I wanted to share this special email from Gabrielle Carteris, our Executive Vice President. I've loved watching this panel and so inspired, not only from my work, but the work of our union and all our Latina and Latino brothers and sisters. Thank you for sharing your insight and experiences, and thank you to MOVE, our staff, the Spanish Language Media Committee, for bringing this production to us tonight. That's from Gabrielle Carteris. Thank you all from New York.
Right.
Well, wow. This has been great. I've been told a 2-minute warning. And
So, last things anybody wants to say,
that's
confess?
No,
do it
no, we
now?
don't want to hear
We
about
have
your
2
crimes.
minutes.
We are out of time. This has been a great discussion about the exploding Latino media market and all the opportunities it creates. Yes.
And I
stick
want to
around.
thank all of our panelists for their insight, their expertise. As well as Adrian wants to speak.
I just want to throw in one thing. Mahatma Gandhi said, "Be the change you want to see in the world." And that applies to actors everywhere. Be the change you want to see in the
Change
world.
you want to see in the world. Nice way to lead. We want to thank President Ken Howard for joining us this evening. That was very special. Very special. I also want to thank the committees and the staff people who made this event possible. A lot of work there. Thank you, thank you.
We encourage members in Los Angeles, New York, Miami, and all participating locals to stick around after the live stream, discuss the program and your ideas for follow-up events and assessing work in their specific markets.
Yes, do be sure to keep up with SAG-AFTRA on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at SAG-AFTRA. On behalf of the Spanish Language Media Committee, Move LA, and Move New York, thanks everyone, and have a great night.
And stick around for a photo.